Facebook, and Twitter. We've got 4 of us here tonight, the WFNY crew. We've come together tonight to talk about 2022 top Cleveland sports moments, and we're doing it in a little bit different way. We're going to do a snake draft tonight where we go through, pick out our top 2022 Cleveland sports memories. Can be anything: Browns, Cavs, Guardians, Lake Erie Monsters, if you want to get kind of funky, is on the table here tonight. I'm watching you, Ethan. I know you got some good stuff. I know it's coming Lake Erie Monsters wise, so got my eyes on you.
I mean, if the 2022-2023 NHL season is any indication, then there's definitely many, many more good Lake Erie Monsters memories than there are Blue Jackets memories right now. But that's besides the point.
Since we'll just do a quick intro too. We've also got Evan on the line. Evan, thank you for joining us, man. Appreciate you being.
Thanks for having me, as always. This will be fun. When you pitched the idea to me, I was in Salt Lake, and I'm like, this is a fun idea. And I was just thinking about Cavs-centric moments, and then you expand it to pretty much any pro sports team or just anything that is sports related in Northeast Ohio, or I guess Ohio, if you want to include the Blue Jackets for Ethan's sake. It's pretty nutty at the end of the day. So we'll see what happens.
See where it goes. And Matt, I think this is since our last failed experience with Craig, I think this might be your first time on the pod. How you doing, man?
I'm doing. Hopefully this one goes better than the 30-second last one. So let's hope that.
Perfect. Yep. All right. So the way that we're going to do this tonight, again, I said it's a snake draft. So we have 4 of us here. We're going to do 3 rounds. So there's going to be 12 selections in total. The way that our snake draft ended up, the lineup is going to go myself, Evan, Ethan, Matt, and then Matt's going to start off the second round. So we'll just go reverse from there. So we'll have 3 rounds, 12 picks. We already did the random number generator to get our draft odds. And again, we're picking top Cleveland sports moments of 2022. And I am on the clock. So I don't have the rights to that music. So I'm just going to go ahead and get us started off. The Guardians gave us a lot of good memories. The Browns, very few. Cavs have given us some pretty good memories in 22 as well. First pick, I'm starting off with something that I was in the stadium for. Oscar Gonzalez, home run, game winner, walk-off against Tampa Bay, 15th inning, ALDS. And I was like 3 rows away from SpongeBob. So I was on TV for a second. Josh Paloha actually texted me. He's like, dude, are you there? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here right now. It was unbelievable. 15 innings. It was cold. They stopped selling beer like 2 hours before the game. Who's a Cleveland diehard. And it was the absolute best. It was the peak. Voice was lost. And the 15th inning, sending us to the knees.
That's a really good pick. We should just go around the table and talk about where we were when that moment happened. I was driving to Columbus because my fiance had her college homecoming that weekend, and she wanted me to meet a few of the people in our bridal party for the first time. And I'm like, pressure. And then I'm like, hey, do you know the Guardians affiliate for Columbus? She's like, no, why? And I just like quietly kept walking out of the house because I had no service to check the score. And then like I was just like doing like a celebratory fist pump on a sidewalk, and a bunch of strangers are just watching this strange bearded man celebrating for no reason in the middle of I believe a Saturday afternoon.
That's incredible, man. And it warms my heart as like the predominantly baseball guy here. Like even waiting for next year, yes, while being an all Cleveland thing, I am exclusively baseball in my contributions here. So it warms my heart to see this pick at the top. I was actually watching this game at home from my couch. I had paid for a month of Sling or something so that I could watch the playoffs while they were happening. But the game was dragging on so long that my fiance said, we need to go run errands. So I was in the middle of Polaris Mall when I got the notification that the walk-off happened, and I about threw my phone up to the second deck. But it just capped such an incredible season for them. I mean, that team debuted 17 rookies. They won the division. Oscar Gonzalez is an incredible story from a guy who 95% of people thought was going to be just a swing and miss machine and comes up and hits for average and not as much power as he was advertised as. So there's just a lot to that moment, man. The 2022 Guardians were special.
Yeah, I can agree. That was also in the stadium too. But I was so for me when I went to the home run, Corey Kluber, of course, is on the mound. So a bookend to one beginning to another. As soon as slider into that sea of red and left, dude, I was just jumping. I was jumping just arms. I was jumping into my dad's arms. It was one of the most exciting just being in that ballpark. 100 games, and that was like a tie. Like, and to share that with my dad, like it was just what a moment.
Incredible. Unbelievable moment. All right. Next up, Evan gets our second pick.
I'm gonna take a little bit of a coward's answer, but this is an all-time sports moment for me because similar to Seth, I was in house for it. Of course, it was at work, but being able to witness Donovan Mitchell score 71 points, it was absolutely mind-boggling. I believe he scored 55 points in the second half alone. He's just a bona fide microwave, a bona fide bucket getter. Sure, a lot of people can point out and naysay to the fact that the second chance opportunity that sent the game to overtime in the first place shouldn't have counted based on the 2-minute report, but it has no impact in the grand scheme of things. It's just the NBA providing clarity with refs at the end of the day. But that's my pick. It's just that was the moment you're like, okay, this Cavs team's legit. Like they are built a different way, and they have found their quote unquote guy to kind of take them where they need to be. Like I feel very comfortable in saying they're a top 4 team in the East now after just kind of fully assessing Donovan Mitchell up to this point, and excited to see where they go. But like that moment was special and it was historic. I think that's the other thing too, is like not many other players have scored 70 points, and it's the highest scoring game since Kobe Bryant up to that point when Kobe scored 81. So yeah, it was pretty nutty at the end of the day. Like that's my pick.
It's a home run pick. I was split between that and Donnie's 71. I mean, it's incredible. I was like sweating in my living room, jumping up and down. It's just, you just don't see it. I know this year everyone's scoring a bunch of points, but they're not scoring 71. Historic, all time.
Not only are you not scoring 71, but he's also the most points scored or assisted on since Wilt's 100-point game. I think Donnie had his hands on 90 points in that game total with assists. So
Yeah,
let's not forget that part either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was
actually, 9104,
yeah, go ahead.
which is insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers, and the fact that like they had to follow up that game, like I on my own show Locked on Cavs, I'm like, this was like a Disney storybook ending. Like Disney could have written this movie, it would have run to credits, and then that's after that. But like, nope, they still had to play games after that. But and it's hard to believe it was even before the midway point of the season when that happened too. So there's still plenty of room for the Cavs to have a couple more highs between now and probably when the playoffs start.
Yep. All right, Ethan, you got pick number 3, man.
So naturally, the guy who is the diehard baseball fan here is going to go with a baseball pick, but we're going to rewind it all the way back to May 9th. And if that date is significant to you as a Guardians fan, it should be. That is Josh Naylor's All the Smoke game. Josh Naylor, Guardians first baseman and DH, is an absolute psycho. And this game taught me a valuable lesson. Trailing 4 runs in the top of the 9th, Josh Naylor steps up to the plate in Chicago against the White Sox and hits a game-tying grand slam. Fantastic. Sends the game to extras. In the 11th, Josh Naylor comes back up to the plate with the game tied at 9, still from his grand slam, and hits a 3-run home run to put the Guardians up 12-9. He is giving every fan in Chicago the business. He is running into the dugout. He is looking for Andre Knott. He is looking for the camera, and he is yelling all the smoke at anyone and everyone who will listen to him. He set some history. He is the first player in MLB history with 2 3-run or better home runs in the 9th inning of a game or later. It is insane what he has done. And that game taught me a valuable lesson because it was early enough in the year that I had not bought fully into the Guardiac kids. I actually shut that game off because I had written it off. I thought it was over. I didn't count that team out the rest of the way and witnessed some of the greatest comebacks in a single season I have seen in baseball history, led by a bunch of literal babies. These are children, and that moment absolutely resonates with me.
I was gonna interject, if these are actual babies, there's some serious issues there. But yeah, that is a special moment. And Josh Naylor, sorry, giving all the smoke. Smoke is good, and he also just has a great last name for when he has some certified moments like that, because you can just say Naylor nailed it at the end of the day, and it's like poetry, as George Lucas says. It rhymes. It all has a purpose.
Matt, what's your thought on that pick, man?
It's a great pick. It one that signaled to a lot of this team might be better than what they thought. That was like the first sign. Yeah, that heart, that ability to just scrap out and just like that was for becoming like a star in the town. Like that gets us that, great pick, Ethan.
Yep. Love it. All right. Well, Matt, you're up. So you have 2 picks in a row. So you're going pick number 4 and pick number 5 here. So what's your pick number 4?
I'll go. I would say like the dive because it was surprising. I think it's unfolded over the months, turned into like such a significant it's changed the franchise.
We're having some tough time with the audio, Matt. Damn. Yeah, it was screeching for a while there, and it started to get really bad within the last 30 seconds.
Can you hear me better?
A little bit. Do you want to try off? You want to try to go off video, and maybe that'll save a little bandwidth.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah. Try one more time.
Hello?
All right. Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So, I Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. Sorry. Never mind. Sorry, Matt. Yeah, it's just not going well. Yeah. Do you want to throw it in the chat, and we can kind of cover the pick for you?
I think he's talking about the Donovan Mitchell trade, and I can fill in this space real quick because, to be frank, no one expected when he first arrived in Cleveland. It was kind of a blindside for a lot of folks, and then when he was introduced, he offered full transparency to the media and attendance. Like he didn't expect to be there either. He fully expected to be a Knick after the summer concluded, or maybe had finished his time with the Jazz just up to this point. Maybe he gets traded later. So yeah, it's Cleveland got a superstar. They cashed in their assets and got a great player, and like that was surprising to me. Like it's a rare case where you can, like, the Guardians were killing it by then too. So like you're saying, like, okay, there's all 3 professional teams in Cleveland have the potential to be good to great in no time at all, and it's really exciting to think about. And like just seeing Donovan Mitchell there, like a bona fide stud and arguably one of the best players at his position, really crystallized that moment for the Cavs, who had a great season the year prior.
Yeah, man, there's been a lot of fun parallels between the Cavs and the Guardians, especially with all the youth that's been contributing and really turning the tides on both of these teams very, very quickly. And I'm not gonna lie, Matt actually sniped me. That was going to be my comeback on the turn here with the snake. I picked 3rd, was hoping for 4th so that I could get Naylor and the Spida trade back to back. But it was a great moment, and the dividends of it so far in this season have been absolutely incredible. We already touched on the 71 points, but he's just such a great Batman and to no offense, a team that had a lot of Robins. Like DG was really developing into a really nice point guard, but maybe not going to be like super duper star levels. And with Mobley and Allen logging down the front court, it's just you can't really find a puzzle piece that fit that whole thing much better than Donovan Mitchell does.
The fact that he's played so much better than, frankly, he ever has in his regular season career. He's had stints in the playoffs where he's been otherworldly, but this is the best he's ever shot in his entire career. I mean, he's playing at a all NBA, first team level. It's just unbelievable what he's done. And Matt, we're still having some audio issues with Matt, so he's going to throw us in the chat here. Pick number 5. So pick number 5 for Matt is the Andres Gimenez walk-off, where the Twins announcer said, and we've had enough of the Cleveland Guardians. Ethan, I got to throw it to you, man. I know you know this like the back of your hand.
This is an incredible moment earlier in the season when the Twins kind of were the first horse out of the gate. They seemed to be separating themselves a little bit. The White Sox had some early, I don't even want to say it was purely the injury issues. They had some Tony La Russa related problems, and the Guardians were still kind of figuring it out. They hovered around 500 for like the first 2-ish months of the season. But for whatever reason, the Guardians, no matter how poorly they played, were just absolutely victimizing the Minnesota Twins in any series that they played early on in this year. To the point where one of their relief pitchers was so bad against the Guardians, he had the 5th highest win probability added for Cleveland while pitching for the Twins because he was so bad. But at one point in a 4-game series, it was Emilio Pagan. Thank you, Matt. But in a 4-game series that the Guardians just dinked and dunked the Twins to oblivion in a game they finally thought they had, and then Andres Gimenez steps up and hits a walk-off home run. The Twins broadcast was absolutely dead silent except for the sound of Guardians fans cheering. But sometime around Andres Gimenez touching third base, the Twins broadcaster cut in and just said, "I think we've seen enough of the Cleveland Guardians." And then nothing until post-game.
That's funny. That was I still had my reservations about the Guardians and whether or not they were going to be good, just because they didn't spend a lot. They weren't the White Sox, as Ethan mentioned. The Twins were kind of primed to win the division, or at least be a contender in the division. And maybe it's just testament to how the Guardians played. It's not the sexiest form of baseball, but it's their brand, and they certainly made it work at the end of the day, because clearly they won the division and they made the playoffs. Like that was a good run for the Cleveland Guardians, just to kind of kick things off, and a lot of fun moments for that team.
Yeah, that was about as sad as you'll ever hear any announcer in any sport. And I know all of us Cleveland fans were just second of it up. It's unbelievable. All right, great pick, Matt. Sorry you're having issues, brother. We'll keep in the chat and we'll keep running with it. Ethan, you have pick number 6.
So I'm not going to be a complete homer. I'm actually going to stray away from baseball. I did say I wanted the Donovan Mitchell trade. I thought that would be a great 1-2 punch, but I'm actually going to go with my backup pick here, which is Darius Garland's 50-burger against the Timberwolves. That was just phenomenal for a guy who isn't necessarily known for that level of output. And it felt like he needed that monkey off of his back, and he probably still does. He's had some injury luck this year that's just not doing him any favors, and he hasn't quite been the player that we saw for long stretches of last year. But I think that one is really just if this kid gets healthy, watch out, because the rest of the league is going to have problems stopping that, whether he's the one scoring 50 or if he's got a healthy Donovan Mitchell shooting and just nailing everything like he has been. That 50-burger is just a really nice coming of age, I am here, the league is on notice kind of game for Darius earlier this season.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I've pretty much been to every Cavs home game up to this point. It was special. And I think more than anything about Darius, like a lot of young guys go hunting for their shots, and they're probably beating their own chest after like the games like that. But Cleveland lost to Minnesota in that game. It was actually for a while one of the few, like I think the Cavs only had 2 home losses for the longest time too. And like that really just stuck out. And Darius was like asked, like, "Oh, you had a great game. Like, this is a career high for you. This is a career night for you." He's like, "I could care less. We didn't win." And he just kind of said that answer for every single time someone brought up his career night, and all of his teammates and coaches are like singing his praises. He's just like, "Listen, I could score 60, 70. I mean, his teammate Donovan Mitchell did it a few weeks later, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't win." And I think just having that level of maturity is really good. And like you said, Ethan, it's a bit of a coming out party. Like he had last year was just a nuclear season in general for him, but to like kind of say like, "Hey, I'm still here and I'm still the lead guard of this team, and I'm still like one of the de facto alphas of this team." And it kind of crystallized like, oh, this Cavs team could be really, really lethal when they're healthy, knock on wood, and firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it's a great pick. It was on my board. I was gonna think about taking it in the third round. Great pick, Ethan. All right, Evan, you've got pick number 7.
Okay, so this one is really out there, but it was like one of the funniest storylines I followed in late October. But did you guys hear about the Lake Erie Walleyes cheating scandal?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
So, for those who don't know, there was a pair of fishermen who put weights, I believe, inside walleye and inside the gills to make them weigh over 100 ounces to win a competition, and that's cheating. And they were caught with like metal detectors and everything else. And I haven't had an update on it, but last time I checked, like they were facing prison charges for it. But like it was just absolutely insane to follow this story for the whole time, and it's just like why cheat in a walleye fishing competition? Like it's the sport of fishing may never recover, especially in Northeast Ohio after this moment.
I think it came out after the fact that these guys were like serial cheaters across several different tournaments. Like this was a normal thing for them. They just happened to get caught in one on Lake Erie. But I
That's
mean,
that's hilarious.
man,
Like
I had not thought about like professional fishing when we set the blueprint for this. My mind jumped to the big three leagues, and I was like, man, yeah, this is great. No. There's a bunch of fishers with some lead weights on a boat in the middle of the water. This is just
yeah, it was so funny when it happened. And for those who listen to me on Locked on Cavs on the regular, I very much say like I don't consume a lot of sports content. I look for weird stuff and I get fixated on it. And this was one of those moments where I was just like scrolling through the news, or I think I was either watching the news, local news, or scrolling through it. And I'm like, there's no way. And then I'm like reading about it. My brother, who's a huge outdoorsman, is like super heated about it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to this. It's just like the most bizarre story I've ever had to follow, and I love that I just got to see it go through like it did.
With how serious like the fishing sports world took it, it's like, and I'm thinking they're like blood in, blood out. Like it's serious business there. And if you're cheating, like you said, there was like serious like scandal,
Mm-hmm.
jail, accused. Like it was very heated. So it's just an
And
all
it's
time
it's
story.
funny because if you type in walleye in Google right now, like the fifth or sixth autocomplete option is walleye fishing Lake Erie cheaters. So like it still has some traction to it.
Hell of a pick. That's the contrarian pick that might win Evan this draft. That was a beautiful
man, that
pick.
second round sleeper. That's incredible.
Oh, my third round one's gonna be even better. I have
Ooh, okay.
two in my back pocket, I guess. So
I can't tell if that's a threat or a promise.
why not both?
All right. So I got the last pick in the second round, pick number 8. I've got 3 that I like, obviously, for 2 slots here. For pick number 8, I'm going to go back to a point where the Cleveland Browns actually had hope in their season, and that was damn sure before the Jets game. I'm going to go back to week 1 when Cade York hit a 58-yard field goal, essentially game winner down in Carolina to put the Browns up to 1-0. At that point, obviously, there's still life in the season. The Browns drafted Cade York in the 4th round. They got a lot of flack from, a lot of different front offices and fans about you don't draft kickers that high. Well, Cade York came and hit that 58-yarder, put the season on, and maybe most importantly for Browns fans, beat Baker Mayfield. That was a game that they really didn't want to lose next year. So that's going to be my number 8 pick. What do you guys think of Cade York booting the 58-yarder?
Well, at first when you said a 58-yarder, I thought you were going to say during the pregame warm-ups, and I'm just like, oh, you're really going to put him on a cross like that. But yeah, I feel bad for Cade York. He was given a unrealistic weight of expectations put on his shoulders, but he's a fun kid. He's a fun kicker, and like you said, there's a lot of emotional hype and lead up to that game. Like Baker sold those really corny shirts, and I don't know. It was a ugly game. I think it was a fun game at the end of the day if you just like watching football from a pure football standpoint, but it was certainly stressful, and I think a really a poetic way to kind of beat Baker, because a lot of how Baker played, especially towards the end, was a lot of controlled chaos.
Yeah, I think if the Browns learned anything from A, their division, and B, every year that's ever happened since Phil Dawson left, it's that you can't undervalue your freaking kicker. I mean, I think Chris Boswell, Justin Tucker have been here as long as it's been since Phil Dawson has left, and the Bengals hit a jackpot in Evan McPherson last year. So it's just like
Yeah.
you're not even in the same league of kickers as the rest of your own division, let alone the rest of the NFL. It's unfortunate how it unraveled for Cade. And I actually did a film breakdown about how his mechanics have broken down throughout the season for a friend who asked about it recently because he didn't understand why Justin Tucker was so damn good at what Justin Tucker does, that he is the gold standard. It's really unfortunate what's happened to him, but at the time I completely understood the gamble of needing to find consistency at that position because you can't leave those points on the board at the end of the day in any game. So it's a tough one. It was a great moment for him, especially in his first pro game. Like that's where the moment comes in for Cleveland sports fans. That's great. You have to give him that. You can never take that moment away from him. But it is just unfortunate how the rest of the season played out for Cade.
Yeah, there was nowhere to go but down from that from that 58 yards. That's for sure. All right, and then I'm up.
Down's fair. I definitely say down is fair.
Yeah, a tough rest of the way for our boy Cade.
At least he wasn't Noah Ruggles.
True that. True that. All right, so I am going to start us off in the third round. So I've got pick number 9. This is really tough. I've got moments from all 3 major sports teams right now, and I think they're all deserving. So this is kind of tough. I'm gonna go with more of just kind of a storyline here. So call me a sucker, call me whatever. I love Tom Hanks throwing the first pitch out, and we had that beautiful Wilson ball, running across the infield. That was just awesome. After Tom has given us like the voiceover of, the name change of the Guardians, Mr. Hanks coming to town, throwing that first pitch out, and we got some comedic relief over Wilson, the volleyball. That was like an awesome moment just to see him in the stadium and doing his thing was great.
Yeah. And it's certainly just interesting because you don't expect Tom Hanks to be a Cleveland Guardians fan through and through, or rather an Indians now Guardians fan through and through, but he has admiration for the city. Like, he opened up to an interview with, I believe, Joey Morona with Cleveland.com over it, just about how much he admires it and how, like, him throwing out the first pitch, like, it was just a cool moment, like you said. And just like, it reminds me of when the Browns first came back and Drew Carey like introduced the team for the first time. He told everyone like, "Hey, Cleveland sucks." He's like, "Well, now you can shut up," because there's a bunch of celebrities who still care about Cleveland sports quite a bit. And yeah, it was a cool moment, and especially because it's just like the city was definitely electric leading up to the home opener for the Guardians that year, or I guess the last season rather.
Yeah, I kind of have a kind of alternate pick for you to toss out there too, because it was on the bottom of my list. I don't think I'm going to end up taking it, but I don't think Matt is either, so I'm going to throw it out there. But another one would have been when Patrick Carney of the Black Keys played drums for John Adams on opening day when he was in too poor of health to really perform. But the Black Keys doing the background music for Tom Hanks narrating the video announcing the name change, and then those guys actually being involved over the course of the season is just a fantastic thing. And I know there was a lot of backlash over the name change and people weren't excited that ownership wasn't spending money, but winning heals all wounds, and it's just really great to look back on now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, winning does heal all wounds, and I think makes things a lot better. Man, like, I don't know. That's a good pick too, Ethan. Like, I agree with that. Like, that's a really good pick. I smiled at first because I thought maybe you're gonna go somewhere else with a bottom option that I'm gonna just throw out there because I'm up next. But mine was the Mustard redemption story for the Cleveland Guardians this season.
Yes.
Gets sent down to the Lake County Captains after just never winning once, and he gets recalled by the Guardians towards the end of the season. And it was he made his return back for a doubleheader against the Detroit Tigers, and the Guardians didn't happen to make any other roster moves at the time. But like, that was an inspirational moment for me. Like, Mustard really is Cleveland, where we're just lovable losers at the end of the day, and sometimes, some way, somehow, we eke out a win, and you just take that. He's a real blue collar guy, Mustard. He lunch pail guy, first one in, last one out kind of situation. Sports descriptions in general, but that may be my first just like option, but I'm gonna think My actual pick this is another obscure one, but John Carroll football turned 100 years old this year, and that's my football pick. Is because they didn't play 2 years during World War II, so because the program started in 1920. But John Carroll, if you really look at like just the grand scope of things, is one a football coaching powerhouse, but like they have produced like some high quality players as well. And I mean, I know Josh McDaniels is kind of sullying their legacy with what he did to Derek Carr today, but and just the season in general. But like that's kind of cool that like a school in Cleveland, Ohio, that's maybe not known for its athletics, is known as just like a tree to produce NFL caliber talent in different avenues.
There's a couple of those teams in that neck of the woods that don't get a lot of love for the programs that they run. Mount Union, Purple Raiders included, and all of that. But yeah, John Carroll has been just a phenomenal staple for Northeast Ohio. It's incredible what's come out of that program.
For those who maybe don't know, like London Fletcher has played for them. Tom Arth, who the former Akron Zips head coach, coached them at one point. Josh McDaniels, as I mentioned, played for them. Bill Polian, Brian Polian, Dave Ziegler, Don Shula, one of the greatest football coaches of all time, coached there as well. Greg Roman, the current offensive coordinator for the Ravens, coached there. For some reason, somehow, some way, like John Carroll, and as Ethan mentioned, like Mount Union, just like a phenomenally great program nestled in Northeast Ohio. Like for some reason, like there's other good football programs other than just maybe the Browns that people could be focusing on too in NEO.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I'll say the one thing I know about John Carroll is just like you had mentioned, the tree. I mean, the tree of guys that come out of that organization that have found success in the NFL is not a short list. So that's a great pick, Evan. All right, then Ethan, you got number 11. Ooh, I think Ethan, you might be on mute.
You might have muted yourself, buddy.
My bad. This is an incredibly tough pick for me, and I'm very obviously going to go back to baseball here. But there are so many moments. We need probably 15 people in this draft to pick every moment from the Cleveland Guardians season that mattered or made an impact.
I mean,
and I'm going to throw.
If it's not the Mustard Redemption story, just go ahead and hang up.
You might as well leave now, then, Evan. No, I'm going to throw some honorable mentions out there right now because, like, obviously, you could say a personal favorite would have been the Elvis Andrus says the Guardians are going to crumble, and then the Guardians go to White Sox and sweep 3 games and go on to win the division the following weekend. That one's very much up there. The actual moment blowing out the Rangers to clinch the division, that one could very easily be in there. I could throw out Emmanuel Clase carrying the side, being one pitch off of an immaculate inning in the All-Star game. Like those are all great Guardians moments, but I'm going to pick something from April. We're going to go all the way back to April 29th when Andres Jimenez wins Sue Kelly a car in the Ford Grand Slam payoff inning. They have been running that promotion for as long as I've been alive, and I have never once seen anybody get remotely close to it. And in the early days of Twitter, especially as mini universes and Twitter worlds were forming and Guardians / then Indians Twitter was just developing, one of my favorite accounts at Sports Yelling, her favorite thing was to just watch the Grand Slam payoff inning and would just scream and moan until anybody would come remotely close to doing it. And finally, Andres Jimenez was the hero we deserved. He won somebody that damn car.
That is a special moment. Very, very good baseball pick at the end of the day. I'm surprised you didn't go with the Yankees situation either, but that's a good pick, and it's a very like heartwarming story, and like you said, like that's endearing. I don't know, that's special, and I think Ethan might have a crush on Andres Jimenez. So,
if you've read my writing or listened to any of the corner casts, it's a little bit more than a crush. Andres, I love you.
He's also very subtle, so hopefully you're picking up on that. All right, Matt, you've got pick number 12, and I'm going to go ahead and read it off for Matt. So Matt's last pick, it's a great one. It was on my board, is Jacoby's last game, specifically that game-winning touchdown pass to David Njoku. Insurmountable comeback that the Browns were really faced up against. I think they needed to score twice in the fourth quarter, came all the way down. Unbelievable. One of the best catches in the entire year in the NFL by David Njoku. Went up one hand, came down with it. Unbelievable catch, unbelievable moment. I was there. Matt, I'm sorry. I know I'm stealing your pick a little bit here. I promise I will write down your name next to the pick. But it was an unbelievable moment, hell of a catch. And I think we can all appreciate what a professional Jacoby was. And I'm going to miss the heck out of that guy if he's not on the Browns roster next year, which I almost hope he's not. I want him to go have a chance to go start somewhere. And, man, I'm going to miss that guy.
It is a good pick, and that was a crazy catch too, and like a good send off, like Matt said, and like you said, Seth, for just Jacoby in general. Like nothing about a consummate pro. I think just knew like, hey, I'm not the long term answer for this Cleveland Browns squad, but I'm gonna play my hardest. He kept his head down. He had some bad games. He had some good games. He had some bad moments. He had some good moments. But like, if you want to crystallize his entire time with the Browns just based on that one catch from Njoku, yeah, go for it. Like that was just a cool moment and a cool way to send off like his overall time at the Browns. And I agree. Like if he ends up elsewhere next season, that'd be great. But also if he's a guy and he appears like everyone in the Browns locker room loves him, if he wants to stick around and kind of be like that culture slash, good backup slash, a sneaky gadget option for Kevin Stefanski, by all means, the Browns should devote a little bit of salary to it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any scenario where that happens. I think he played well enough that somebody's going to give him an opportunity to play next year. There's always teams like the Washingtons of the world. He's not old enough to play for the Colts. He probably needs like 15 years more to play for Indianapolis at this rate. But I do have to give Jacoby credit. Admittedly, I did not watch a lot of Browns football this year, but he was a consummate professional. The way that man stepped into what can only be described as the most chaotic media storm I've ever seen around a singular football team in history, and the way he handled the press, the way he handled trying to lead the team to learn an offense, to be like, yeah, I know I don't have a job after week whatever the suspension ended, but I'm just here to do that job. Like the man was, if anything, just the definition of a professional, and I respect the hell out of him for it.
Yeah, I've shared this on the Cavs cast, amongst other. I think I wrote a little bit about it too. This was the least amount of fun I've had being a Browns fan, and him bringing like a little bit of of good nature and happiness to the season meant a lot, personally for me, and I think it did other Browns fans too, because it's been just toxicity and a shit show, to be frank. So for him to be a professional, be a great guy, he's so positive. He's crying after that game-winning kick that Cade York booted. Just him sharing how special it is to be a professional and go out and play. It just meant so much to root for, a good guy. So awesome pick, Matt. We love talking about your picks. So let's do this too. Let's go around really quick, not to hang on too long, but let's go really quick. Honorable mentions. So I'll throw out a couple and then I'll kick it over to you guys too. So one that I would have loved to get was that awesome, the Cavs beating Boston in overtime, October 28th. Obviously, Boston making the finals last year. I thought that was a huge statement game. Donnie and Levert both had 41. That game was just incredible. And then, the only other big one, I think that, you look at a draft and they're like, holy shit, how'd the guys not draft this? It was the game winner from Oscar against the Yankees, right? His walk-off was another great moment. I just didn't get it up on the board. Evan, what'd you have on honorable mentions you didn't get to?
Oh boy, this is a tough one. Probably for me, this is a more obscure one, but Cleveland one announcing they're bringing an MLS Next team here, but more importantly, they're bringing a WNSL team here, and I think it's just cool that Cleveland, which has a super rich professional soccer history, is investing so much into like building facilities and also just working on community outreach to get kids more interested in soccer and kind of make it more of a grassroots sport and a grassroots movement within Northeast Ohio. And I think that's just kind of neat, just giving kids other alternative options instead of soccer just kind of being that niche, obscure sport in a state where football is pretty much the predominant and frankly dominant sport that a lot of guys play.
I'm going to thank you for that personally and say I appreciate that call out, because as a guy who grew up playing predominantly soccer and played it all through high school. Like, there was not any representation. I was on some bad teams, frankly. Got really good my junior and senior year, lost in the playoffs to some really good teams. There was really good high school soccer in Northeast Ohio. Not a soul was paying attention to it except for the 9 parents in the stands every game. So to see that the actual city investing in it at the professional level and the semi-professional level is just incredible to see. And the NWSL is very fun. We have a team down here in Columbus. The ladies are lovely. The games are incredible. If you guys get the chance to check them out when they do get that franchise up and running, highly recommended.
Awesome. Do you have any other honorable mentions? Anything else on your board, Ethan, that you weren't able to get to? Or has everything else pretty much been drafted?
I left 2 off on purpose because I was hoping we would have the honorable mention roundtable, but I had to check with Matt when I rambled earlier for my last pick that I wasn't going to steal his. I have 1 Cavs pick and 1 Guardians pick that I left off. The Cavs pick is going back to the end of the 2021-2022 season, and it was the smooth as silk K-Love behind the back dish to Chetty for the corner 3.
Yes.
That
Great
play
moment.
oh my God.
It was clean.
I can, everybody in this room, including myself, can attest that I am definitely furthest down the pole on basketball in terms of what I keep up on and what I understand the best. But man, that play still makes me very, very happy. It is gorgeous. But that's my Cavs moment. The Guardians moment that I left off, and we're going to go back to Matt's moments of Guardians moments that upset the opposing fan base. And we're once again going to victimize the Minnesota Twins. And it's the James Karinchak check his hair game. When Rocco Baldelli comes out of the dugout and accuses James Karinchak of having a sticky substance in his hair and makes the umpire check him just to rattle him. Now, in Baldelli's defense, it worked. He gave up a home run later in that at-bat. But it proved to a lot of people who were thinking similarly that Karinchak was cheating, but it was just a mixture of sweat and rosin somehow. And he recovered his filthy form despite the different baseballs. So he's still a psycho. Think what you will about our very own James Karinchak / Wild Thing, but that moment is just absolutely hilarious to me in the grand scheme of a 162 game season.
You got to find the little moments to laugh at during such a long season, and the tactical move of having the ump check is really smart, and it makes me think of my fiance who has fallen in love with Jamal Williams as a player just because he's so weird. And he's just like, he was giving all the Packers players high fives before the game the other night. I'm just like, honey, that was to rattle them and get in their head. And she's just like, he wouldn't do that. He was just being nice. I'm just like, no, I promise you that was a tactic to get in their head, to get back at them.
He's giving them high fives and telling them every single one of those players he's the swag Kage of the village hidden in the leaves. That man knows exactly what he's doing, and I love him for it.
It's great.
Yep. He is a different cat, and we love it. Absolutely love it. And in the chat, Matt posted too his honorable mention, which is great. It's another great moment, is Josh Naylor hitting a walk-off and headbutting Tito. I almost expected to see like blood run off his forehead because it wasn't like the softest. It gave him a pretty good, nice little headbutt. So that was another great one.
That moment goes so underrated because Josh's mom actually had to call him because Josh Naylor claims he blacked out and doesn't remember doing that until his mother called him and said, "Do you know what you just did to your manager?" and made him go apologize to Terry.
He's a sicko, man. He is a sicko.
I love it. My last honorable mention is just to go back to the last Cavs season is the Kevin Love redemption arc kind of coming full circle because heading into last season, myself included, thought the Cavs should just buy out Kevin Love's contract and let him move on because he was old, washed up, and a toxic asset. And now look, he, at least last season, was one of the leaders for Sixth Man of the Year. Ultimately didn't win it, and Tyler Herro got the honors, but it's crazy to think, like, one, Kevin Love is the last player from that 2016 squad still standing, considering he was in every single trade rumor imaginable. And more than anything, it's just like he turned it around and went from being like kind of like a toxic locker room guy to just being like an overall like just vibes king and just a constant punching bag for like Jared Allen, making fun of his age compared to the rest of the roster.
Yeah, that big cap hit this year, we all, we're thinking he's gone. And man, how well he played last year, it was something special. He was their, fourth, fifth most important member for a lot of the season. So he was just
Absolutely.
awesome last year. Yeah. Well, that kind of puts a bow on it, fellas. That was a lot of fun. Matt, I'm sorry we had to go through the chat, but I think we had a good time going through our 2022 Cleveland sports memories. For follow up, I'll go ahead and put this on a graphic. We'll get the poll out and have folks start to vote on it, and hopefully kind of relive some of these moments themselves when they take a look at it. Fellas, that was fun. We'll try to, obviously Matt, you're excluded forever, but us three, we'll try to come up with some different topics. Maybe we'll be back and do this again. I had a lot of fun if you guys did too.
Yeah, it was a blast. I'd do this anytime.
Yeah, man, I loved it when you dropped this in our WFNY chat. I think I responded within 4 seconds. Like I was like, sign me up. I'm in on this one. I would love to do this. So yeah, invite me back anytime.
Hell yeah, we'll definitely do it again. Matt, just joking with you, buddy. But yeah, we'll be back. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next week with the Cavs cast. I know we're gonna have a bunch of other content out next week as well. Thanks all. Have a good night.